Hello, it's Rebecca, and you're watching Syrian Sage for a Geomancy reading. Today's reading is for Z. Thank you for signing up for a video reading through my website, and thank you for offering me permission to post your reading to my channel. I offer a free giveaway video reading every month, which you can sign up for through my website. I'll have a link in the description. I also have other freebies like downloadable zines. If you are just seeing me for the first time and don't know me, I'm a spiritual counselor, Akashic Records reader, and I also study and practice divinatory arts, including the tarot and geomancy. I began my journey as a skeptic, and I learned geomancy partly to challenge a statement made by Henry Cornelius Agrippa, who claimed that geomancy was the most accurate system of divination. This particular kind of geomancy is an earth divination technique from Africa and the Middle East, which I learned about mostly from authors John Michael Greer, Franz Hartmann, Israel Regardie, and others. I've been testing this divinatory system for a couple of years and have found it to be a highly accurate system. However, I haven't tested this system thousands of times, personally speaking. So that being said, please note that this geomantic casting and subsequent interpretation is for entertainment purposes only and does not guarantee literal materialistic outcomes. Just because you get results doesn't mean that I can guarantee them, okay? So let's begin. I'm going to show you how we cast a geomantic chart. Also, I want to note that as of the time of this casting, it's just after 5 p.m., right? When you do a geomancy reading, it's good to note the date and the time because you might want to follow up on it later, okay? Or if you're a more advanced geomancer, you might want to schedule your geomantic readings according to the geomantic hours of the day or the night, but that's up to you. That's a little bit deeper than I'm usually willing to go because I haven't found it to be necessary for my readings. Okay, so we have a couple of different significators that we're going to be looking for. Our quesited houses kind of cross over into two different areas because of our question. And the question is, will my current career / side hobby pairing work out? And so if we want to dig into that a little deeper, we would be looking at pleasure. So that would be the 5th house. And then we're also looking at the 10th house, which is about career. Okay, so these are where we're going to be looking for more information as we cast the chart. Okay, and I like to use dice for casting the chart and casting the 4 mother figures. So because these are associated according to the organization of each geomantic figure, I just have them all arranged according to how the elements are arranged. So we have fire, air, water, and earth for the head, the neck, the torso, and the feet of each geomantic figure. Okay, so let me just focus in on my querent here. Okay, so we're asking this question for a friend of mine. So you're going to know who you are when you see your initial there. I'm just going to focus in on my querent here, and then we're going to cast the 4 mothers. Okay, so as we can see here, we've got for our first mother figure, we're starting off with an even number as the head of the figure. And then for the throat, we have an odd number. And then for the torso, we have another odd number. And then we have an even number. This is the figure called conjunctio. Let's roll this again. Okay, now we have an odd number. And then we have another odd number. We have an even number. And then we have an even number. This is the figure called Fortuna Minor, or Lesser Fortune. Actually, let me make this look a little bit nicer. Get those closer together a little bit. Okay. All right, now let's see here. We have For our head of the figure, we have an odd number, and then we have an even number. We have another even number, and we have an odd number. This is the figure called carcer. This is where we get the root of the word incarceration from. So this geometric figure means prison, whereas this one means lesser fortune, and conjunctio means conjunction, or like a crossroads or union. It's a coming together, a conjunction. All right, what's our next mother figure here? All right, now we have an even number. We have an odd number. We have another odd number and another odd number. And this is the figure called caput draconis, which means the head of the dragon. Okay, so from here, the way that we calculate the rest of the figures, it's gonna get very verbose if I go into it. But basically, we're gonna take the fire line of each of these to create the first daughter. So we do even, odd, odd, even, and then we get conjunctio once again. And conjunctio coming together in the fifth house is, that's a pretty good sign in my opinion. But let's cast out the rest of the chart and see what we get. So the next daughter in this chart is going to be based off of the neck or the throat or the shoulders. So we have odd, odd, even, odd. All right. And then following again, we go to the next down the line, we have odd, even, even, odd. And then finally, our last daughter is going to be made of the feet of the first four mothers. So we have here even, even, odd, odd. And this is Fortuna Major. And this means greater fortune. All right, now the next line, we're going to use an arithmetic funnel to create the nieces. So the next row, we combine each row of these two figures in these paired houses. And we're going to get the summary. If it is odd or even, will determine the figure. Okay, now finally, we're going to put these together to get the judge, and this is going to be the answer to the question. We really want to know not just are outside forces going to somehow make this pairing work out, but is it going to be worthwhile to put these together? Because you're the leader of your own life. So you need to be well informed about, is it going to be worthwhile for you to continue pursuing this side hobby and career pairing that you've got going on? Okay, so let's get the answer, and then we're going to perfect the chart here and see if we have modes of perfection, and that's answered by all of these other things. So let's get into it, shall we? Okay, so if we put, again, even and even together, we get more even. And then next row is going to be odd because we're putting even and odd together. And then again, we've got even and even together. It's even Steven. We're going to do a really lopsided figure over here, but if we put 1 and 2 together, we get another odd number. So this is a figure called acquisitio. This is actually a very positive figure. Now, what happens? What's going to be the outcome of this? This looks like a favorable answer, but let's see how the chart perfects. When we put this in the house chart, and how we do that is we go from the first house, second house, third house, all the way through the houses. These are all Roman numerals here. You guys should know how to read Roman numerals if you don't. So I'm going to change my pen over here so as to write a little bit better. I'm just going to write down the numbers of the houses. And I'm going to write them regular style because I do what I want. So there's the 5th house, the 6th house, the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So it's like an astrological chart, right? Okay, back to the Geomancer's wand, and we're going to just copy over everything from house 1, house 2. So we have Conjunctio, and then we have Fortuna Minor, and then we have Carcer in the 3rd house. In the 4th house, we have Caput Draconis. In the 5th house, we have Conjunctio. So we already have, if this were solely a 5th house question, you already have perfection just by having these two identical figures in these houses. Let's keep going. In the 6th house, we have the figure that is called Puer, which means boy. And then in the 7th house, we have Carcer again. In the 8th house, we have Fortuna Major. And then in the 9th house, we have Amicio. This means loss. And in the 10th house, we have Cata Draconis, which is the tail of the dragon. These are just the basic names of the figures and like what they translate to. In the 11th house, we have the figure Puella. That means girl, where Puer over here means boy. So we have girl, boy. If these are like human-shaped figures that are made of points, then think of exaggerated gender characteristics and it'll help you to remember the names of those figures. Okay, so the 12th house, we have Amicio once again. Okay, so I don't see that there is some kind of a relationship connecting the figures of the Querent, which is the 1st house, and the Quesited 10th house. But I do see a strong connection between the Querent's house and the hobby. So like the career, this is like an ending. This is footsteps leaving a threshold. That's what this pictogram kind of is about. Whereas Conjunctio is like a coming together, and this is also a coming together. So it suggests that this is the thing that is really working well together. Let's look at like what other factors are coming into play here. I want to take a second to just like analyze this a little bit better. So I think you have perfection by translation. If we look at Amicio is making an appearance in the 12th house and then also in the 9th house. I want to tell you a little bit more about what the geomantic houses are about, because that is telling us why this is a definite yes. Like, why is it worthwhile, or why is it going to work out, or how is it going to work out? You would look to where the chart has perfection. Okay, so when we have translation, that means that you have identical figures appearing right next to the houses of the Querent and the Quesited. So we have right next to the Querent Amicio, right next to the Quesited Amicio. And Amicio is not a positive figure. It means loss. And also Cata Draconis, the tail of the dragon, this is an exiting energy. So this is like a departure. This is like you might be leaving your career and favoring your side hobby because it is more in alignment with you. Like this is where the energy is coming together. So I think that things will work out, but it's going to change your career. It's going to be like, I think that because the figure is Amicio, that it may indicate a loss. Just to give you more about the geomantic houses, like I have this whole page on my website called Good Questions for Geomancy by the Houses. So if we look to what those different houses mean, the ninth house is like journeys of all kinds, outward journeys, inward journeys. This is also like long journeys, all voyages by air, space, water. Also, religion and philosophy and spirituality, adult education, colleges, universities. All of that is ninth house stuff. Also, occult philosophy and divination are ninth house matters. This also has to do with public communication, media, publishing, wisdom, the arts. Okay, that's ninth house. So when that makes a translation, and then, I'm also want to bring up the 12th house having a Missio here. So the 12th house is more about your limitations and like anything secret, a retreat, a solitude, or like your hidden life. Um, this is like where this is the least fun part of any kind of a chart, or like these are where people ask questions about like really, really serious stuff, like criminal questions would kind of go in that place. That doesn't mean that your question is criminal. It just means like the 12th house is where your quested house would be if you were asking a question about like, is somebody doing magic to do harm to me? Or is this question about a debt that the querent might owe money to someone? Or if the querent is dealing with like an imprisonment scenario of some kind, or if, say, for instance, like drugs and alcohol would be a 12th house kind of situation, but also so would charity. So, um, geomancy is one of those things where like this is called the daughter of astrology, and this is why. Okay. So, I want to go more into the figure Amicio because that is why the answer is, I'm predicting a very strong yes, but this is like a balancing. So, a balancing of the overall chart. Like, look, the answer is acquisitio. This means gain or attainment. It's the opposite of loss. It's almost saying, like, you might have to give up certain things. You might have to let these things like leave you, like let resolve your debts, maybe. That could be an indication of why this will work out as a yes, is because you're able to lose a debt. Like that's Amicio saying there's a loss here of some kind. So I want to look at that favorably in your 12th house. I want to look at it favorably in your ninth house. But Amicio is transience and loss. It balances out the image of gain. So think about this like acquisitio is like a bag that's open with its mouth open to receive things pouring into it. Whereas if you're looking at Amicio, this one is the bag upside down that's pouring out its contents. Okay, so that's a little visual of what that one means. Amicio is a sign of Earth. It's represented by the sign Taurus and Venus. But acquisitio, which is the judge here, acquisitio means gain. And that one is associated with Sagittarius and Jupiter. I think that this is going to work out for you favorably, but it's going to work out favorably because you are going to be conjoining your passion with this figure of conjunctio in your 5th house. Another thing I think is interesting is like the 10th house shows this figure of like footsteps leaving the threshold. It's showing like exiting energy. Whereas in the 4th house, you've got this energy coming in. So this could work out favorably in regards to your home life. Or it may be that like working from home is part of your side quest hobby. But anyway, that's just an aside that I kind of wonder about the finer details of your question, because geomancy is just very straightforward, and it's not like psychic spycraft. Like I'm not doing any channeling here. I'm just giving an interpretation based off of the teachers of geomancy from the Middle Ages and the modern day teachers like John Michael Greer. Like his book was what got me started. Anyway, I want to go into more about like conjunctio. Conjunctio is association. Conjunctio is a crossroads. It's a combination of forces. It's a mobile energy. It's also liminal. It's neither here nor there. So you can kind of do what you want with it. It's also represented by the sign of Virgo and the planet Mercury. So if your side hobby has to do with communication, if it has to do with intellect, if it has to do with perfectionism, details, willingness to serve, these are all keywords that identify the energy of conjunctio. It's a favorable figure. But you know what? Your judge, acquisitio, is super favorable over here. I decided to record a little bit extra to go into the witnesses and also the judge of this reading. And that's because the deeper that you get into geomancy, the more nuance you can get out of a chart interpretation and analysis. And I realized that I didn't really cover this stuff in the overall interpretation of the geomantic chart. So we're going to do that right now. Even though we have occupation between the querent and the quesitive of the fifth house with conjunction, occupation is one of the strongest modes of perfection. So in very simple terms, it's a definite yes. And that's what happens when you have the same figures in both houses of the querent and quesited. Now, the chart is also, it's perfected if we are just looking at the 10th house. And then the fifth house is like the side hobby pairing, right? So like not probably the main focus, but what I'm seeing in here is it's perfected by translation with the 10th house, and that being the figure of Amicio in the 9th and the 12th houses. So right next to the houses of querent and quesited of the 10th house. So what that means, translation implies that there's going to be an outside factor that's going to come into the situation to provide an outcome that the querent can't manage on their own. So the favorability of the figure that is making the translation will indicate how pleasantly or unpleasantly the outcome will occur. If you see like a weak figure or a liminal kind of, it can go either way, or you see weak, stable figures, it suggests more unlikeliness of the outcome or coincidental. It might seem like a coincidence. That would be like if you had Albus or Populus. With Amicio, I want to go like deeper into what Amicio is all about. Taurus is stubborn, stable, also possessive, persistent, tenacious, calm. And Venus has to do with, Venus is like the ruling planet of Taurus. Venus has to do with love and beauty and the arts, emotions, culture, femininity, cooperation, grace, music and harmony and charm. And also Amicio is like grasping externally. It has to do with like outer wealth, not inner wealth. It's also something escaped or lost. And this is a mobile figure. It tends to suggest that the effects will be pretty quick and the energy will disperse also just as quickly. So it'll come about quickly and disperse just as quickly. So that's the outside factor that's going to result in perfection between the first and the 10th house. When you have an occupation, that suggests like how favorably things will happen based on the figure. If you have unfavorable figures perfecting your chart, it typically means that you're going to get the outcome that you want as a yes, if yes is that you do want things to work out, but it might be pretty unpleasant on the way. Like think about the qualities of the figure Amicio that I just described. So I just wanted to cover that. And then like I also want to talk about the figures that are the right witness and the left witness, or the first and second witnesses. And again, we're reading the chart from right to left. So the first witness or the right witness, which represents the beginning of this situation, or like you could say the inciting incident leading to the question, that's the figure Rubius. And Rubius is That figure means like burning, violence, danger, passion, Scorpio and Mars energy. And it's also, its element is air. It has to do with strength and masculinity and like physical energy competition, passion, courage. Scorpio is also secretive, can be aggressive, but is very, again, persistent. So, persistence. Remember this keyword when it comes to the outcome of this reading. And then the future, like the unfolding, we're going to look at the second witness to see what is coming up that's leading to our judge of acquisitio, which means gain and attainment. So the second witness, which is the emotional part of the question, and it has to do with the future and what is unfolding. So that figure is Tristitia, and Tristitia means sorrow or sadness. And it's also Aquarius and Saturn. Saturn is a planet of limitation. And some other keywords or names have to do with stabilization or also stuckness. It's a downward movement. It's lowered spirits or lowered vitality, head down, a fallen tower, or a pit, or a stake that's driven downward. This is also a stable energy and it's an entering energy. So it is bringing this kind of energy to the situation. So that would be your second witness. That's the future of the question. I get the sense that the reason why you're asking this question has to do with those two things, with the right witness and the left witness, Rubius and Tristitia. Anyway, that's all I'm going to add, and I'm going to finish up the rest of the video with the other stuff that I already recorded yesterday. So anyway, thanks, Z. And so you know what? Since we're here, let's see what happens if we put together the querent and the judge, and we get the sentence, we get the reconciler, and then I'm going to wrap this up. So we've got even and even. We get another even number. We get odd and odd, which means we get even. And then we have odd and even together, which makes another odd number. And then we have another odd number to finish it off, which is Fortuna Major. This is greater fortune. That's a very positive, positive sign, like a very positive outcome. This is one of the most favorable figures in all of geomancy. Just to tell you, like, what can you expect of Fortuna Major? You can expect inner strength. This is like protection going in. This is a great fortune. It's also more of like a difficult path that unfolds like because of your inner strength. It's going to work out because of you, not because of other people that come swoop in and help you and save you. This is your inner strength is why this is going to be a favorable outcome. And that's what result you're going to get. That's a pretty major thing. Also, this is like the sign of Leo and the sun. Okay, so this is proudness and it's success, it's greatness, and it's also balance. I think that's freaking awesome. And I really, really hope that you get that outcome, because that would make me super happy. If you'd like to book a reading with me, you can go to my website to do that, and the link is in the description. I can do a private one-on-one phone call, or you can book a reading through video through my Ko-fi shop. And I also read the Akashic Records as a certified soul realignment practitioner. If you are interested in learning more about that, you can find my other YouTube videos on the topic or visit my website. And if you want to learn more about geomancy, I'm teaching classes on geomancy divination this summer at the Northwest Nest, which is on Lake Tanwax in Graham, Washington. Tickets will be available through the link in the description. I will also make an update once I have e-courses online for those of you watching from home, wherever in the world you may be. I know you've been asking me for some e-courses, so I am working on that for you. You can support me by liking this video and subscribing to my channel if you haven't done that already. And if you've made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. And please leave me a comment with your thoughts, and I will see you again soon. Bye.